Hello, everyone. Very warm welcome to you all. Just really exciting in the chat room. You're looking at, Kobe, Japan, Shanghai, even Fiji on here. Makes me sound very dull. I'm sat in the UK here, sort of southwest England in the rain at 2 a.m. in the morning. So if you think you have a bad day, think you could be worse, you could be me. But great to see you all. Huge thanks to EACOS for hosting this webinar. Very, very happy to see you. And we're going to take you through in the next hour some of the main features of the Mario framework. Okay. Thanks, Phil. Over to you, Mr. Bowman.
All right. So just to introduce myself real quickly before I hand this off again to Graeme. My name is Philip Bowman, and I am a full-time learning support teacher at International School Bangkok, but I also started the Mario framework 2 years ago, although it had been cooking in my classroom for 5 years previous to that. And I'm really excited to be here with you today and share quite a bit about the Mario framework, and then we can dive even deeper next week. Graeme?
Thanks, Phil. So I worked with Phil for 6 years. I was deputy head of school at the International School Bangkok. I'm not a special ed teacher, but my wife is a passionate special education teacher. So it's sort of in my DNA anyway. I'm a school leader. I've just finished a stint as founding director of the Middle East's first fully sustainable IB school. Prior to my time in Bangkok, I was principal of the International School of The Hague in the Netherlands and have done stints in Hong Kong and in Dubai in the Middle East, as well as my home country in England. But I'm back here now. It's the first year in 37 I haven't worked in a school. So I'm going through this sort of very weird phase at the moment, but really happy that I'm allied to Phil and working with the Mario framework, because we have some really exciting things to tell you about. Thanks, Phil. So the excitement starts right here. Phil and I are really super passionate educators. We're probably not the best business people, which is why we're going to start with a giveaway for you. Part of the Mario suite of courses that you'll see laid out later in the webinar includes something called the Mario Introduction. And this normally it costs $150 US. We're giving it to you free. It's actually, I believe, in your inboxes now. So as soon as the webinar is finished, you can go access that, sign up and have a look. Okay, so that's a bit of good news to start with. Thanks, Phil. So a little bit about what we'll share with you today. We're going to share our mission and our vision. And these often, every school, every organization has a mission and vision. We really do live ours. It really helps guide us and keep us on track with our core business. So we'll share that. I'll then hand over to Phil, who will tell you a little bit about how this began and how it began actually in his classroom. And he'll take you through a really robust case study, which tells us why and how the Mario framework is really effective and successful. Then it'll be back to me. I'll talk a little bit about why these one-to-one learning conferences are so powerful and impactful. Throughout, I'll try and give you also a school leader perspective, because that's the perspective I come from. I was the person who was signing off on courses like this. And I actually, before I joined the Mario framework, I signed up 2 of my own teachers. And the first one who went through the course is a changed person. He really is. And his confidence levels are sky high. His kids are doing great. So yeah, there was a little bit of a personal sort of experience I had. We'll hear from one of our Mario students. We'll tell you about our courses, and the software we'll tell you a little bit about. It's under development at the moment, but it really is something very special. And as soon as we can, we're going to share a sort of demo with you, but that won't be today, unfortunately. And then we'll tell you a little bit about the sort of pricing structure of the courses. Okay, so that's just an outline of what we'll go through over the next sort of 50 minutes or so. Thanks, Phil.
Recording in progress.
So typically, a vision tends to be sort of blue sky, reach for the stars kind of stuff. And a lot of companies, schools, organizations never actually reach the vision. Our vision is to empower all of our students and all of your students to flourish as self-directed learners. And just to pick out that word flourish, because it's very deliberately chosen. Flourish means to grow or develop in a holistic and healthy way, especially as the result of a particularly congenial environment. And Mario is all about creating that environment and creating those conditions, almost like a plant grows, creating the right conditions for our students to grow. And our mission is leveraging robust research, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the research later on, to develop cutting-edge, technology-rich learning solutions that release students' inner purpose and strengths, positioning them for success. So we're going to try and give them all the tools they need to become self-directed learners and put them in the right position to be successful. Okay, we'll say a little bit about our students as well. So Mario learners, and I guess the learners is also us, right? Are self-aware and reflective, respectful and compassionate. So we're looking to help develop not just great students, but great human beings, great kids as well. They embrace diversity and challenge inequity. They understand the ways they learn best, demonstrating resilience and commitment when faced with challenges. And we know that some of the students that we work with do face pretty significant challenges and major obstacles to their learning. But we're looking to try and give them that resilience, that bounce back ability. So, you know, when they're faced with something, they can draw from their Mario toolkit that we've given them to help sort of navigate some of these challenges. And Mario students are primed, there's that word again, to flourish and empowered to make a positive difference in the lives of others. This is not just about them, it's about those around them as well. So again, it's pretty lofty goals, but we really believe in our kids and we believe that they're capable of doing so much. Thanks, Phil. We have at the moment Mario educators, people who've been through or going through the Mario educator courses in 20 different countries at the moment, many different schools. What's really interesting is that the number of people we have in our courses, that same number tend to stick with us and either do subsequent courses or help us out as teacher researchers or writing articles for us as well, because they believe in it as much as we do. We've partnered so far with a number of people. Here are just a few. I'll just mention a few of them. ECIS, that's the Educational Collaborative of International Schools, formerly European Council of International Schools. We're partners with them, and they represent 425 schools and over 35,000 educators. EACOS, and if you've just joined the call, this is supported by EACOS, and a huge shout out and thank you to them for their sort of gracious partnership with us as well. They've been wonderful, representing 196 schools and around about 164,000 students. And SENIA, the Special Educational Network and Inclusion Association, which has over 25 chapters worldwide and 10,000 members as well, all passionate learning support guys, just like you are. And Novak Education, and this is the sort of the organization led by Dr. Katie Novak. Phil will talk a little bit about her in a moment, but she's been a huge supporter to us and a huge proponent of universal design for learning as well. Okay.
So a little bit about how the Mario framework came into being. Actually, it was one major action research project that just really kept on going. Several years ago, about 7 now, really, I am kind of a nerd, and I spent a summer just really, really digging in the research. And I was pretty naive, thinking, you know what, if I look at all the research, like other people haven't done this, I'm going to figure out what's the one thing we have to do to improve student learning. And of course, as you all know, there is not one single thing. But what I found is, as I dipped into the research, not just educational research, but other research as well, looking at psychology, looking at medicine, looking at design thinking, is there was a common theme. And that common theme was change is more impactful when it comes from within. Which, if this sounds familiar, it is, because it's self-directed learning, right? It's personalized learning experiences. The catch is, how do you really do that in an effective way, right? So that's what I started really focusing in on. And the vehicle for that was one-to-one learning conversations, and really targeted one-to-one learning conversations. And then building skills such as self-awareness, self-advocacy, self-management, goal setting, monitoring, and adjusting, that all helped lead eventually to self-directed learners. So this is what this is all about, and making personalized learning something that's easy and effective. I think a lot of us try to go to that ideal of personalized learning, but it's how do we make that sustainable? And that's what we're looking at really here, and creating self-directed learners. So what does MARIO stand for? It is an acronym. It stands for Measured, Ambitious, Research-Informed, Innovative, One-to-One Learning, and it is all personalized. About the measured piece, this really is critical to everything. We started this out as an action research project, and there was measurement from the very beginning, which is why I'll talk about a little later. When Dr. Katie Novak heard of this, she jumped on board because we were doing that. And what we do in the courses is we also help instructors and educators know how to measure their own impact in their classroom, which I think, as we all know, is very valuable. As Hattie tells us, that's one of the most important things, is for educators to be students of their own impact, right? And the ambitious piece, we believe those high expectations should be for everyone. No matter who they are, all neurodiverse learners should have high expectations. Research informed, this is really embedded in everything we do. We have an amazing research and evidence team, and it keeps growing. And we keep looking at, if we adjust the framework, we make sure we look at the research and evidence first before we make any adjustments. But it is a framework that grows based on the latest research. And you may already have heard about the MARIO memo. It's a free memo that comes out every couple weeks, and it looks at the most recent educational research, and some of our team members actually synthesize that and make it bite-sized so that you can easily take in that recent research and you can implement that research into your classroom, really bridging that research to practice gap. Innovative, even though we're looking at the research, we do encourage healthy experimentation as long as you're measuring that impact. So we really focus on being able to have that balance. And then at the center of it all, this really is the heart of it, is one-to-one learning conversations. That's what we really believe is a very powerful vehicle to move us forward and really privilege our students' voices. So, a little case study, since I am from International School Bangkok. What did this look like when we rolled this out? A few things here. First off, when talking with students, the one-to-one learning conversations had the biggest impact on their learning. That's out of everything, not even, not just the class, but other factors going on in their lives. What's had the biggest impact on your learning? One-to-one conversations with their teacher. The second thing was we actually closed the gap. And the students that we primarily started with were students with learning differences, neurodiverse learners, and they actually closed the gap with their peers by 27%. And as you know, that's a huge deal, especially as this was in a high school setting. The third one is fantastic. We were able to transition students out of the intensive studies, which is our tier 3 intervention, 3 times faster with this intervention. And then perhaps most interesting is students coming up to student concern meetings. Usually about 1 in 3 students were students that were already identified, that we had services in place. That dropped from 30% of our student concern referrals to 6%, which is just massive. And speaking of Katie Novak, so Dr. Novak actually works in the US and is well known for her work with Universal Design for Learning. And I had a chance to connect with her as she is doing some work at ISB with Universal Design for Learning. And then when we started talking, she wanted to see the research and she just got so excited about it that we also teamed up with another doctor who focuses on teaching pedagogy. And the 3 of us have finished a study that measures the impact of the one-to-one learning conversations at 0.91, which if you're fans of Hattie or you're really geek out over educational research, this is using Cohen's coefficient, which means the average intervention is about 0.4. So anything over 0.4, which we call the hinge point, is highly effective. And to be 0.91, it's up there among the most effective interventions. So really exciting stuff. Katie is quite excited about that as well. And we're actually now having the article go through the peer-reviewed journal process. The next thing here is not just the efficacy of the intervention itself, it's the courses that we're leading as well. So we used the teacher self-efficacy scale from Ohio State University, which is widely recognized as one of the most validated instruments for looking at teacher self-efficacy. And we measured that for educators coming on the course last spring, and we saw an increase from 6.6 to 7.6. Now, this is on a 9-point scale, and that 1-point difference is huge, especially considering this is only 11 weeks that this course is held. So to have a 1-point difference is quite remarkable.
Thanks, Phil. Now, why one-to-one? Well, the quick answer is sign up for the course and you'll find out. But just a little hint, these one-to-one learning conversations are roughly 5 to 7 minutes. So they're short and they're sharp, but they're really, really powerful. We do recommend also much less frequently, but some sort of learning conferences, which would be longer. But the nuts and bolts of Mario are these really highly structured one-to-one conversations. If you're an early childhood teacher, then you'll know the importance of those one-to-one conversations. That's where you collect your learning evidence. You know, you're not pulling in books and things like that. But obviously, as we go up through the ages, those conversations look different, right? But the research on this is really, really powerful. Thanks, Phil. And what we know, and Phil talked a little bit about the research, in each of these areas, we have a bank of research and we have a sort of master document that's about 40 pages long now of robust research, most of it pretty recent, but some sort of classics in there as well. And as Phil said, we don't really tweak or fiddle around with the framework unless we're absolutely sure that there's solid research behind it. But we know that these one-to-one conversations strengthen students' cognitive processing, it facilitates behavioral modeling, fosters a growth mindset. Next slide, please, Phil. We also know it does that tricky thing of connecting the abstract and the theoretical to real world meaning. And of course, the one sort of, golden ticket here is that student-teacher relationship. And we have tons of research that show that schools where students have a stronger than normal relationship with an adult, with a caring adult, not only benefit sort of academically, socially, emotionally, they're far less likely to hit all those major risk factors that we worry about when we get students in that sort of adolescent phase as well. So the research is really strong around our profile. Thanks, Phil. So we're going to have a listen to one of our students now. The voice is an actor, and it's an avatar as well. I'll say a little bit more later on about student safeguarding, but that's the reason why we've done this, okay?
Before this year, I would not really implement goals into my everyday life. And that means I didn't really have the effort or reason to work hard on something. But now that I have goals, and we are checking in on progress, I can see the effort and how it can affect it. And I've learned that if I put my mind to it and really want something, I'm able to get it. What I like about the one-to-one sessions is that there are a variety of things we get to talk about. With most teachers, you only get to talk about academics. But the thing about our one-to-one sessions is that we could be talking about school one day, the next day we're talking about sports, and then we're talking about goals. I mean, there's so many different things that happen, and it kind of improves my relationship with my teacher.
And we have many of these conversations, and we obviously, with students' permission, we capture them and then we sort of anonymize them like this. By the way, as we go through this, if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat there, and we have Isla, who's one of our team, who's monitoring that chat room.
Yeah, and we'll have time, I think, at the end to go over those questions. So please don't hesitate to pop those in. I think you got to see some of my listening preferences on the side there, a little bit of classical, a little bit of lo-fi. So which course is right for you? We do have a lot of courses that are available, and I know we have a wide range of people here as well. Now, with all these courses, and the Mario introduction, it's not a course like the rest of the courses. We don't have this in-depth collaboration that really occurs throughout the courses. All the other courses have that. And that was really important when we designed this, is we wanted to look at best practices in professional learning programs, especially Dr. Linda Darling-Hammond out at Stanford. She is fantastic, and she's given a lot of phenomenal advice to organizations creating great professional learning experiences. However, we don't always see those in courses, and we've made it kind of our mission to make sure the courses are as engaging as our approach, right? We want this to be a personalized learning experience for you so that you feel like, yes, you're getting what you need, not what we're sending your way. That's not what this is about. And to help do that, we have actually a number of easy to use tech platforms that we have integrated, so that using Canvas, which is the invitation you just recently got this morning, when you go on there, that is the platform all the courses are housed within. And then we have a few really exciting things such as Packback, Peerceptive. You will see those if you start exploring the course. We talk about those and what they are, but they really enrich and elevate conversations and ensure that we have peer feedback as well on projects, which I think is very powerful, and a lot of our participants have talked about how useful that has been. There's a lot of different courses for a lot of different levels on where you are. You can just start off with the Mario approach, which the Mario approach is about the one-to-one learning conversations. So if you actually don't want to get into the social emotional learning, executive functions, hopefully you want to measure your learning happening in the classroom, but if you don't want that unit, communicating the change, you just want to know about the one-to-one learning conversations, that's where the Mario approach is. And we have that course both for teachers and for assistants. We've taken the course material for the approach, and we've actually changed the readability and everything to also support English as additional language learners, as we know that's really important for some of our assistants that are working in our schools. We also have the certification courses, which are much more robust. That's 11 weeks, and it really takes you from the beginning all the way into feeling confident in launching this in your classroom. And then the experienced educator is really all about the practical piece and using micro teaching to improve our practice and to really hone in those one-to-one learning conversations and focus on one area of importance to you. So that's more that practical application and upskilling. We also, and I'll go back in a moment to talk about assistant courses, because we have a really amazing assistant course, which is starting next semester. So the Mario approach, going back to what that is really, it's about these one-to-one learning conversations, and they typically are 5 to 7 minute learning conversations. So that allows them to be used in a variety of contexts, which I think we worry that one-to-one learning conversations can be too long. This makes them manageable. There's 30 continuing education hours available, not units. And it's really made up of one-to-one learning sessions, conferences, theoretical underpinning in the Mario approach, and that introduction piece that you got today. So underpinning the one-to-one learning conversations, we have 11 high impact learning strategies as identified by Hattie and Marzano that really are used throughout those one-to-one learning conversations. And of course, we go into that in much more detail in those courses, but you can see some of them right here. I'm sure all of these are familiar to you, and this is really what's embedded in this approach. The 11-week certification is 90 continuing education hours. So it is a pretty robust course. You know, we let people know that up front, and that's actually why we've introduced self-study options as well, because we know for some people doing 90 hours in 11 weeks is going to be a lot to take on. Some people are really going to thrive in that environment, and then other people are going to want a more slow-paced cadence where they can do this over a semester or maybe even a year. So we have options to allow you to spread this out if you want, but it is quite comprehensive. And speaking of comprehensive, I think these are a lot of those areas. Graeme, am I handing it over to you now?
You were handing it over to me on the last one, but that's fine.
Oh.
You're on a
Almost
roll.
got there.
Do you want me to take this one?
Go for it.
Sure, thanks. Yes, so some of the areas of learning we cover here. Understanding the Mario framework, as Phil mentioned as well. There's the difference between those one-to-one learning sessions, the learning conversations, and the longer one-to-one learning conferences as well. If you look, you'll see imagining your program, and then the penultimate one, reimagining your program and design thinking. This is all about you. It's all customizable. You know, we know this is not a one size fits all. We know we've got a multitude of different school contexts out there as well. So really certainly within the educator course, which I guess we might call that the sort of signature course. There are 3 personalized learning projects within that where you can actually develop your school or your class interventions that fit your own context as well. And then there's combined with all of this, there's the social emotional learning piece, because we know the impact of emotions on the brain, and we know that we receive sort of emotional signals quicker than we receive the cognitive ones. So it's about that sort of emotion regulation as well. Executive functions, particularly in sort of elementary school as well, because we know our elementary students, most of them aren't going to be self-directed learners. That's something that comes further down the line. But we know that this course will help build those executive function skills, which lay the platform for self-direction. Thanks, Phil. So we'll have a listen now to Bernadette. So Bernadette's at the International School of Amsterdam, and she's somebody who's done one of our courses. And again, we've got a bunch of these, but we thought this was a nice length for you to listen to, and she summarizes it pretty well.
Hi, my name is Bernadette, and I'm an IBDP Learning Support Teacher at the International School of Amsterdam. The Mario framework is grounded in research and best practices. And moreover, it offers such a structured, clear curriculum to use in the learning support classroom. It allows students to take ownership over their learning journey, and it really centers student voice and choice. It meets students exactly where they are as learners and teaches them how to set goals and offers strategies and interventions to help students meet those goals so they are progressing and developing at their own pace. They're not only successful with you in your classroom, it teaches them how to be successful independent of you so they can take these skills and lessons and be successful not only in high school but in the next stage of their life. And what more of a gift can you give your students than the power to be successful on their own? It's just so exciting. The Mario Framework certification course was different than other PD sessions I've taken. Normally it's kind of hard to hold my attention and to keep my focus, but that was never the case with the certification course. It's interactive, it's engaging. Each week you're learning a new unit, and then you're responsible for applying the knowledge that you're learning to a project. So there's so much hands-on learning that allows you to really dive deep with the course material and learn how to use it in your classroom. And the coolest part about the projects was not only were you developing your own projects, but you had the opportunity to see how other participants were applying the Mario framework in their own projects. And for me, that was the most insightful part of the entire certification course, because it really allowed me to learn from my peers and to be inspired by my peers. And it really developed my own understanding of the framework, and that was just so cool. And moreover, beyond the units and the projects, we were allowed to have Zoom sessions where we got to interact and connect with one another. And then each week we were also responsible for engaging virtually with one another through written conversation on the Packback platform. And it was just so inspiring to be around so many other like-minded educators who were so passionate about education. And yeah, I just felt like I've grown so much as a learner and as a teacher, and I really just recommend it, to anyone who's interested in learning more and developing their own practices as a learning support teacher, but even as an advisory teacher. And there's even so much to gain from using these one-to-one conversations in the regular education classroom for content teachers. So if you have the opportunity to learn more about the Mario framework, I definitely recommend it.
I think one thing we've heard from a lot of people, especially folks who have are in the same school who've done the courses, is it gives their students and the teachers a common voice for support and for learning. And moving on from that, but with a very strong link, something that we're really excited about is the software that we're busy developing now. It's already at a really good stage, and it's being tested this semester in one school, and then we're looking for some schools to do some beta testing after the winter break. So the software really is designed, it's a connection tool, it's a reflection tool. It's a very high impact reflection tool for students and for feedback as well. And we know, looking at that sort of Hattie and Marzano research, that so much learning happens during that feedback process. But it's about connecting. It's about connecting our special education, our learning support teachers with our mainstream teachers, with our school leaders, with our parents, but with the student right in the center as the sort of beneficiary or the recipient of all of this sort of coordinated support. It really just doesn't deal with academic progress. It deals with sort of social emotional learning, mood, work habits and attitudes to learning, all of this. So it's a really comprehensive tool. We will have some demo versions ready fairly soon. We're working really hard on that, but just like the Mario framework, it's customizable as well. So the students can customize their own homepage, teachers can customize there as well. And we really feel every time we see a new iteration of this, we get more and more excited about it as well. So if you think your school might be interested in being a beta test school, please get in touch with Phil and myself. We'll make that happen for you. And you do obviously then, it'll be free during the beta testing, and you do then have the chance to help sort of tweak it, mold it, shape it a little bit as well. One of my previous schools, we've been part of a beta test for a recruitment tool, and now look at the recruitment tool, and it's actually, you can see echoes of, you know, our needs in that, because we were able to influence the developers there. So yeah, very excited about this. We really think it's a game changer. It'll supercharge the whole IEP process. I think it will change very much the way we look at parent-teacher conferences as well. But the most important thing, it will support our students. Thanks, Phil. I did say I would mention a little bit about this, the reason why we use the avatars and the actors' voices and so on. We know that during one-to-one conversations, the likelihood of a student making a disclosure is increased. So we take student safeguarding and privacy very seriously. We have privacy laws in place that align with GDPR in Europe and with US privacy laws as well. So it's extremely tight. Safeguarding, every single person who works with the Mario framework, from Phil and myself down to the software developers, the backroom guys, we'll all go through really robust safeguarding training because we know how important that is, and we know we can't afford to take anything for granted. We'll all do that regular training. Thanks, Phil. So as I said, Phil and I are super passionate educators. We're beginning businessmen. We're not very good at it, but we would give this away. But obviously we have to stay afloat. We want to be as successful as we can. I'll just give you a little sort of hint of what's to come. Once we become profitable, what we'd like to do is to start a scheme whereby a school who takes on board the Mario framework can actually then nominate another school who might be going through some financial challenges or just might not have the budget to take it on. And then we would provide that sort of for free further down the line. We're not at that stage yet, but that's the sort of ethos that we want to try and communicate through. So our pricing is really straightforward. And Phil, if you can just move to the next slide, please.
And just one further piece on there. Those schools we're looking at won't necessarily be international schools. They may be actually local schools in particular countries, just to kind of clarify who would be the recipient.
Okay, so here at the top is what we might call our signature course, the Mario Educator certification. Normally $12.50 US. That one we're discounting to $10.50. As Phil said, it's an 11-week collaborative course. There's one up and running right now, started on 18th of September. We'll finish in December. The next course starts in March and goes through to May. Again, you have the opportunity, if you want to extend that over a school year longer than the 11 weeks, you can do. The benefit of the 11 weeks is you have that sort of camaraderie of the collaborative group of the cohort going through with you. And there really is power in that. Not only are we sort of creating this common voice within schools, we're creating a common voice between schools as well. And we know that our Mario educators who've been through the course are actually now connecting with each other, which is really lovely to see. Below that is the certification level 2. That's only for people who've been through level 1, and it's the experienced educator certification at 900, discounted to 900 from 1,000, and slightly shorter, a 10-week collaborative course. And then at the bottom, you have the standalone courses. I think Phil's already mentioned some of these. Again, just to highlight that para-educator course for teaching assistants. You know, hats off to all you teachers out there for doing a phenomenal job over the last couple of years in tremendously challenging circumstances. I think hats off too to our teaching assistants as well. And some of those guys have almost become de facto teachers. I know certainly at my previous school in Dubai, we just can't believe the bar, how high we had to set the bar. So some of our early childhood classes and younger students were bubbled into 2 10s, with the teacher looking after one and then the assistant after the other. And the assistants really rose to that challenge. So we see this para-educator course as a huge opportunity to really upskill our teaching assistants. And the course, Isla, who is actually on this call now, has led the development of that course, and it's amazing. I'm just blown away by what I've seen. And I think the potential to put a whole school full of assistants through that, because they do, you know, it is asynchronous self-study. There's huge potential there. And then again, you get that common voice. And that one again is discounted to 450 per assistant. We could even maybe discount that more if we had a large number on there as well. So that's what the pricing looks like. And as I say, it's the very best we can get. You know, none of us on this call went into education to get rich quick. You know, we'd have gone into a million other things. We got into it because we're passionate about our students and student learning. Thanks, Phil. So we have another webinar this time next week. We'd love you to join that as well. It will be different to this one. We'll dig deeper into the one-to-one learning conversations. We'll talk a little bit about the design thinking process, which is something that we've sort of co-opted for the Mario framework because it fits so beautifully. And obviously we can take any more questions as well. So that'll be another roughly 50-minute, 1 hour session, and we'd love to see you again. Okay, and I think we have some time for questions, so please fire away. Phil, do you want to take that? What are the qualifications for certification 1?
Sure. So one of the beautiful things with how we've designed the educator course is that you don't even have to be technically in the classroom. You could be in university to get the level 1 certification. That's not the case for level 2. You do have to be practicing in the classroom. You do have to be delivering the approach. But for the level 1 certification, you could be a university student. So the only qualifications really are that you're in the educator field. Other than that, there are no prerequisites.
And Phil, I think I'm right in saying the certification lasts for 4 years, and then correct, you can recertify, but you don't have to go through the course again.
Right. It's more of a portfolio-based thing where you would submit an actual session and then certain things that you've done, and then a little bit of an upskill.
Okay, any more questions?
And I think one thing to keep in mind, if we've laid out a lot of information over this past 50 minutes. So if you do have more questions, I think you can either send them to Graeme and I, or the next time we meet, we can have these questions brought up then as well. So I don't feel any pressure to come up with the questions now. That's okay. And I think as well, we're happy to speak with your school. So if you want, a conversation with your team, that too is possible.
Yeah, and we can talk also with your heads of school or your directors or whoever they are as well. You know, we're very happy to do that.
And I think what we'll probably do is, I guess we can do kind of the window closing for questions, so that we kind of know if there's any more questions, just kind of let us know now, or else I think we will end it early. I think everybody has a lot to do, and it's a Saturday for some of us, or a Friday night, either of those. I really want to thank you for being here. Graeme hasn't mentioned it, but what time is it there where you are, Graeme?
It is 2:46 in the morning.
So, which amazing. I mean, amazing. It's 2:46 in the morning. And as you hopefully can tell, we really believe in this, and we just want to see, you know, more people getting involved and seeing this grow as it is growing. So please reach out anytime. We'd love to have a conversation with you. And with that, I think we're good.
Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you.